Okay, it's first time oil change for the Type R. Let's get the discussion and the elephant out of the room right away. Should I have done it sooner or should I have waited because it has break-in oil in it? You can look up 100,000 forums and people will be on both sides of that fence. And I talked to my top tech guy at my dealership and he was actually talking to an engineer in Japan who said there was a special additive in there and I shouldn't change it until the computer reminded me to do it, or 1 year. And so I'm sitting a little over 2,000 kilometers. My reminder has come on. It's been warning me for a little while. It's gonna need changing. And so I waited 1 year. It is what it is. I hope it didn't do anything, but based on the tech guy at my dealership, I think I'm good with that. So the second elephant in the room is what kind of oil have I used? I didn't buy the Honda oil. Honda doesn't make oil, so they have it made for them anyway. And I did check out a couple of different places like Bob the Oil Guy, and there's a couple other places. And Kirkland Oil, made by Warren Distributing, is ranked right up there with Mobil 1 and all sorts of other good things. So I figure, well, really, I think we're splitting hairs here. All right, so let's do this. I do have also a 23 regular Civic EX, and it's identical except for the amount of oil. So there really isn't much change there. The oil filter is the same across the Honda line. So let's go into what we're going to need for the change and then the procedure and a couple of things I have to do a bit differently with the Type R. Well, the first thing I realized is I cannot use my regular ramps. They will hit. It's already hitting a little black air dam underneath there and my tires aren't even close to it. I could do like I did with my BMW and use a 2x10 or 2x8 to get it kind of going higher before it goes on the ramp. But I looked around and I found a set of pretty reasonably priced longer ramps. So these are the Power Fist 2-piece detachable, which you can take the front end off, which will be kind of cool because you can move around more around it. And they are 120 bucks on sale, 160 not on sale, way less than speed ramps. And I hope they're gonna work. And I have already tested them for length and they're okay. So you're gonna need some 0W20 oil. You're gonna need 5.4 liters of it or 5.7 quarts. So I'm gonna need more than one container. I'm gonna need to add some, so I bought a little crappy liter and quart measuring cup from Dollarama. Funnel's really great. You don't spill everything all over the place. You need a flathead screwdriver. You're also going to need a Phillips and a ratchet with a 17mm socket, a crush washer, an oil filter remover, an oil filter, shop towels, lots of shop towels. It does get oily. Oh yeah, piece of cardboard, can be using that too. And a micro Newton meter torque wrench or foot-pounds that can go down to 30 to 40 foot-pounds. The longer ones for other things like torquing your wheels don't go down that low. I'm going to use some jack stands because I always like to double up, at least on my safety procedures. You can also use like an old tire and rim just so it doesn't crush you if something happens to break. And lastly, some sort of basin to gather the oil that you can go recycle it someplace else.
So, firstly, I let the car run for a few minutes to warm up the oil. This isn't necessary, but warm oil flows faster and, well, who doesn't like faster? Just don't let it run too long, or you might be very sorry with burning oil in your hands. Hope you brought some feathers. Secondly, get the car up on the ramps. My next Type R video will be on my 1 year of ownership, where I will discuss my likes and dislikes. Spoiler alert, no stinking manual parking brake. Why am I mentioning it now? Well, when I drive up ramps with a standard transmission, I've always kept my gas and clutch at the same point, using the emergency brake to slow the progress, especially once I've reached the rollover high point. With electronic, it's useless for that. You have to be a magician to get the clutch-gas ratio correct when you get close to the ramp's bump stop. Urgh. Thirdly, have a backup plan for safety. I happen to use 2 jack stands, but anything like an old rim or blocks will at least give you a backup if a ramp fails. Fourthly, I always throw a piece of cardboard under the car, because no matter how hard I try, I always get some oil on the ground. Fifth, Open the hood and crack open the oil fill cap, or pull up the dipstick a little bit to let atmospheric pressure be your friend. 6th, all FL5 Civics have this aluminum belly cover, and it must be removed to change the oil. There are 4 flat screwdriver fasteners that need to be turned counterclockwise, and there is a diagram on them. 4 metal Phillips fasteners, lefty-loosey, 2 in front, 2 at the back, and finally 2 black Phillips screws on the outside front edges. Before taking this apart, look at the back of the pan and note the 2 black wedges which slide into cutouts in the pan. You'll need to remember that when you reattach it. Once completely loose, remove it and keep it in a safe place so you don't roll over it. 7th, I usually get the oil bolt loosened first and then move my oil catch basin in later so I have a bit more room to crack the bolt loose. Use a 17mm socket and remove the bolt and crush washer. This is not my favorite step, as I always seem to get oil on my hands, and you have to guesstimate where the flow will reach and position your pan correctly. More often than not, I don't get it perfectly right and have a bit of a mess to deal with. Watch for the crush washer to be on the bolt, or sometimes it can be a little sneaky and stick to the pan. Let the oil drain for at least 5 minutes. 8th, reinstall the bolt with a new crush washer. Though, admittedly, I have reused many of these over decades on other cars and have never had a leak. Torque the bolt to 40 Newton meters or 30 pound-feet. 9th, now unscrew the oil filter. It's a bit tough to get your hands around it as there isn't much room. So I use an oil filter removal socket which tensions around the filter when turning counterclockwise. With that, it's super easy to get off. 10th, wipe around the filter area and then use some of the old oil to lubricate the rubber gasket on the new filter. Screw it on, and when finger tight, turn another 3/4 of a turn to snug it up. 11th, fill the engine with 5.4 liters or 5.7 quarts of 0 W20 oil. Try to use a funnel, or at least have a lot of shop towels around if you don't. Make sure it's API certified, and since jugs don't have 5.4 liters in them, I use a cheap graduated beaker I picked up from Dollarama to add the additional 670 mils to the car. 12th, check the dipstick to see if the oil level is in the normal range. Run the engine for 3 minutes and check the level again. Also, take a peek under the car to see if you have any leaks. 13th, replace the under engine pan in reverse order that you removed it. Remember to slide the rear of the pan into those 2 plastic wedges mentioned previously, and make sure the front of the pan goes back above the plastic trim piece in the front, or else you'll have nothing for your fasteners to screw into. 14th, finally, reset your oil minder on the computer, make sure accessories mode is on, then navigate to vehicle settings, maintenance info, reset, engine oil. Well, I guess we're not quite done. We gotta clean up. This is the worst part. It's way more fun to bring out the tools than to put them away. Why is that? Psychologists, you can weigh in here. Well, I hope that helped out. Enjoy your oil change.